I've played with a bunch of good ones, in my career, and he's definitely he's up there. He's a talented guy. It's one of those things where everybody on our team carves out their role. They do a great job of figuring out what that role is going to be, and going out there and proving it, both on the practice field and in games, and getting those opportunities. I know he'll do the same. I mean, nothing really surprises me anymore, to tell you the truth. I know that, this is an enticing city to play in. This is an enticing organization to come play for. We have a bunch of other great players on this team. AD, Jalen, Cooper, all those guys, great players. So it's exciting for other people to come in and play with those guys. So I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Matthew Stafford talking about the surprise of the day, Odell Beckham Jr. choosing the Los Angeles Rams, a team that wasn't even on the radar screen going into Thursday. And, Peter, look, one of the problems with having choices is you eventually have to choose. And I think that Odell Beckham Jr. changed his mind a few times, had different number one targets that moved. And it was the Seahawks over the weekend. And then the Saints emerge. And then the Chiefs were the prevailing selection as of Wednesday. Former teammates from Cleveland, former teammates that he was maybe very good friends with, who he went to LSU with, were telling people that Odell Beckham Jr. was going to the Chiefs. That was the story throughout Wednesday, into late Wednesday night, early Thursday. And then all of a sudden, it's the Rams. And the Chiefs fell off the radar screen. It was between the Rams and the Packers, who had made him a minimum salary offer. Now, maybe they sweetened it, but the report came out on Wednesday that it was a minimum salary offer, and a lot of people said, well, they aren't really serious about getting him if that's all they're going to do. Maybe they pumped it up a little bit more, but it was Rams, Packers, and of course it had to finish with a 30-minute episode of complete confusion where the Rams announce it, and then they delete it, and then Odell Beckham tells multiple reporters he's picking between the Rams and the Packers, and then as we're trying to digest that, he finally picks the Rams, and now all that doesn't matter because he's a member of the Rams. I was very surprised, but not surprised, because this is what the Rams do. They see a big name who's available, and they make a play to go get him.
The Rams are basically becoming like one of those NBA teams where, I think it was the Nets and the Lakers last year, where every veteran just wants to go there, and they forget about their money. They leave their wallet at the door, and they just go in and play and try to win a championship. That's what the Rams are right now. Because for people who don't understand this is important, because a lot of the sentiment publicly afterwards was, wait a second. I mean, the Rams have less than zero money. How in the world could they do this? When the Rams cut Deshaun Jackson, they saved $900,000 because Deshaun Jackson had per-game roster bonuses of $100,000 each week, and that was basically on their cap for the rest of this year. So there's $900,000 there, and they searched through the couch cushions, and all they had to find was $350,000. They had that. So now, in basically guaranteeing him only $1.25 million for the rest of the year, they were able to get him. But 2 points that I find very interesting. Do you know what Sean McVay and Les Snead both said internally after this got done? They basically were talking, among their front office group, and said, what's amazing is how much Odell Beckham Jr. knew about our organization, about our offense, and about our building. He told them, hey, I've studied your culture, I studied your offense, I studied your building. Guys like Jalen Ramsey helped him. But I'll tell you what else helped him. In the offseason, because Odell Beckham Jr. spends so much time in L.A., he's gotten to know Sean McVay. And they've had discussions about offense. There's nothing, no tampering or anything like that. McVay never thought Odell Beckham Jr. would be on the Rams. But that's one part of it. So he was comfortable in that. But I think the one other thing is that Sean McVay said to Odell Beckham, I am not going to promise you 10 targets a game. You know what I am going to promise you? Matthew Stafford will throw to the open guy. So when you watch the tape on a Monday after a game and you think, oh my God, I was open, Robert Woods was wide open, or Cooper Kupp was wide open, or Tyler Higbee had nobody around him. And so that is why I think all those things combined is why Odell Beckham Jr. chose the Rams.
But it's one thing to throw to the open guy. It's another thing to create plays that are aimed at showcasing a certain player. You know, I think that, like, for example, Cooper Kupp, every ball that gets thrown to him isn't the product of Matthew Stafford going through his progressions and recognizing Cooper Kupp is open. The play's designed for Kupp to get open, and he does, and he gets the ball, period. So will Beckham have some of those? You know, a point that Miles Simmons has made, and he covered the Rams for a couple of years, they go 3 receiver, and they don't sub in and out. They go Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Van Jefferson. That was one of the reasons why Deshaun Jackson wanted out. Peter, that's what confuses me about this. Deshaun Jackson, who showed from time to time when he had an opportunity, when they would throw the ball to him deep, he still got it. He wanted off the train. I want to go somewhere else where I'm going to play more and get the ball more. So how do you make Odell Beckham Jr. not come to that same conclusion? It's a zero-sum game. Every target that goes to him is one fewer target that goes to Kupp, Woods, and Jefferson. And, you know, we can say, oh, Beckham understands it, he gets it, he's fine with it. Well, okay. But still, whatever he gets is taken away from the others. And at some level, the others have to have a human reaction where they say, what the hell? We got a pretty good team here. Why are we doing this? Why are we undermining the guys who have been busting their asses?
It could be that, hey, look, you know, the Rams so far this year have been pretty fortunate, okay, in that, you know, they haven't had one of their big 3 injured, you know, for any length of time. And look, in my opinion, one of the reasons why did the Kansas City Chiefs in the 2020 draft think very, very seriously about drafting Henry Ruggs if he fell even a little bit more? Why did they think seriously about trading up from the end of the round to, say, 20, 21, 22, if for some reason Ruggs was still there? Because they know that, you know, diminutive receivers, and obviously the Rams receivers are not like Tyreek Hill body types necessarily, but they know that diminutive receivers get hurt a lot. And so they wanted some padding, some insurance for receivers who get hurt. And the Rams have been very fortunate this year. Their skill players, with the exception of Cam Akers, have basically showed up every week. So I guess I would look at this, Mike, and I would say, in addition, that I believe that Sean McVay and the team has basically gone to the receivers and said, listen, you have to understand. You know, it's like a receiver. It's like Antonio Brown going to the Bucs. You know, if Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, O.J. Howard, all those guys, if any of them are going to be really kind of pissy about it, I'm not saying the Bucs won't do it, but what I am saying is that could have an impact on their decision. I've been told that every one of the receivers on the Rams absolutely categorically said, bring them in, we'll make it work. All we want to do is win.
Well, and for Odell Beckham Jr., what he had to decide was what was important to him. He could have gone to the Saints and been the number 1 receiver in that offense with Sean Payton.
And caught 45 balls the rest of the year.
Right, yeah. Right. And set himself up for free agency. See, it's not just what you make this year, it's what you make next year. And if you go to the Saints and you reestablish yourself as a number 1 receiver, even with the concerns at quarterback, but there's no concern at coach and there's no concern as to where you fit in the pecking order, that may have served him better in 2022.
But don't you also think, Mike, I think you also have to think of, if Odell Beckham Jr. is smart and he has rabbit ears, he hears what people say about him, and he knows that he's not thought of in some circles, not necessarily among his teammates, but he's not thought of as the most unselfish teammate, okay? So in that case, what better way to prove that you are a team guy entering into an offseason where you could sign anywhere than to make some great catches and to just every day say, hey, listen, this is all about the team. I don't care how many targets I get. And so he's got a little bit of, you know, image rebuilding to do for the other 30 general managers in the NFL, I think.
Well, and part of it, too, is, look, the fact that no one made a major play for Odell Beckham. There was no land rush the moment he became a free agent.
Right.
No one blew him away. Maybe that was sobering for him. We said yesterday, the longer this goes, the greater the chance a team like the Rams is going to say, what the hell, let's throw our hat in the ring, because nobody is saying we're going to pay you $5 million for the rest of the year and we have to have you. Come sign with us now, please, please, please. They didn't do that, and I think maybe that caused him to realize it's better to focus on being a good teammate, and then you can establish yourself somewhere else as a good receiver. And I think that gets to, Peter, the rest of his money. It's $1.25 million that he will make. The $3 million in incentives isn't tied to how many passes he catches.
Right.
It's tied
It's all
to
team incentives.
Accomplishments. Regular season, postseason. He gets that $3 million. Presumably the last bit of it is earned if they win the Super Bowl. So he's got every reason to be a good teammate the rest of the season. John Johnson, who was his teammate in Cleveland and came to the Browns this year from the Rams, had some insights about Beckham's decision, speaking about it literally minutes after it happened when he spoke with reporters yesterday. Here's John Johnson.
I just feel like, they had a good thing going, like a complete offense. I don't know. I just feel like from being in LA, I know for a fact, like, the offense runs through Cooper Kupp. Even in the run game, the pass game, the screen game, it kind of runs through Cooper Kupp. And, obviously, Odell's a big name. He's going to want that attention as well. So it'll be interesting. Coach McVay, he's one of the best doing it. I know he'll find a way to get it done. But, just right off the bat, I'm like, I wouldn't really want to go there if I were him. But we'll see how it goes. And, I wish him the best.
Yeah, and this is a guy that was with both organizations and knows what it's like to be around Odell Beckham Jr. and what he wants. But you're right, Peter. He may have recognized for the rest of this season, it's in my best interest to want to be a good teammate, to want to get along with my quarterback, to want to just be one of the 53, and I'll do whatever they tell me to do.
Mike, there's one other thing about what John Johnson said. And look, I totally respect John Johnson. Last year when Brandon Staley was the defensive coordinator with the Rams, he told me that John Johnson, who had the green dot on his helmet, he said he's one of the most reliable, just excellent football players and teammates that he's ever seen on any of the teams that he has coached. So I totally get it. And he's basically kind of firing a little bit of a very mild warning shot that this might not be nirvana. But here's the point I would make. What if you're Odell Beckham Jr.? You're 29 years old. You've just turned 29. You haven't done anything in the NFL basically in like 4 years or however long it's been since he was a touchdown machine. He hasn't scored a touchdown in 13 months, for crying out loud. And before everybody says, well, yeah, he had knee surgery, he's got 0 touchdowns in his last 9 games. So you're Odell Beckham Jr. And you say, let me take a deep breath here. And let me go somewhere for 2 months and maybe 3 months if all goes well. Let me go somewhere. Let me try to win a Super Bowl ring. And let me just be the guy who is just the contributor. And even if I believe I should be a star, let me just be the contributor. I'll have time next year to go sign somewhere when the cap is going up, and someone will put their faith in me if I keep my nose clean for the next 2 or 3 months. And let me just do this, because I believe sometimes what we say and what we think about players is it's about the stats and the money. Okay, and I'm not doubting that for the vast majority of players, those are huge impetuses for you when you make a decision on where you want to go. But what about when you're 9 years old and you're playing football with your friends in New Orleans, and you just imagine one day winning the Super Bowl, hoisting the Lombardi Trophy, and what better chance with a brilliant kind of offensive scheme and a great coach and all that, what chance are you going to have the rest of your career to walk into a just add water situation and have a chance to win a Super Bowl. It's never going to happen again. You'll have time to chase the money and to chase the opportunity this offseason. But right now, let's be like Von Miller. Let's go somewhere and win a ring.
And it has been since 2016 that Odell Beckham Jr. was a Pro Bowler, 1,367 yards that year. He's had a couple of 1,000-yard seasons since then, but just barely. He hasn't had a big season in 5 years, and, that's an excellent point. I also think at some level what he dealt with in Cleveland, and maybe we'll hear the whole story at some point. I think he and Baker Mayfield never mixed, so getting along with the quarterback is going to be a factor for him, and it feels like he'll get along with Matthew Stafford. And again, I agree with you. He's just accepting his status. He's accepting his role, and we'll see how it plays out. Oh, by the way, they play Monday night in San Francisco, and that gives Odell Beckham Jr. an extra day. Maybe they'll have something for him. Maybe they won't. Then they have their bye. After the bye, it's a trip to Lambeau Field to take on the Packers, the other finalist per Beckham himself. Once it was all boiled down, once he had gone from Seahawks to Saints to Chiefs, it was Rams or Packers. Packers will get to host Odell Beckham Jr. And you just have to wonder, really, Peter, at the end of the day, how big of a push the Packers made, who was behind it, and was this an Aaron Rodgers, I really want this guy, and the Packers failed to close the deal? It's going to be something to keep an eye on.
Look, from what I know of this situation, Les Snead and Sean McVay and two incredibly important players in this were Von Miller and Jalen Ramsey. And Jalen Ramsey is FaceTiming Odell Beckham, more than once, selling him on this team. And again, I have no idea what the Packers did, but I doubt sincerely that Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur put the full court press on him that the Rams did. And Mike, you mentioned before that, and look, one of the interesting parts of this is that nobody even heard of the Rams being involved, I think, until Jordan Rodriguez of The Athletic tweeted about it yesterday. I'm not positive when it first came up, but nobody heard it. I didn't hear it. I'm not working this story hard, but I never heard it. But what happened is, very quietly, Sean McVay, and I'm not sure whether it was Tuesday or Wednesday, that's when he had his big conversation with Odell Beckham. And that's when he basically said to him things like, I'm not telling you you're going to get a bajillion targets, but I can tell you that Matthew Stafford's going to throw to the open guy. And so he had it in his head all along that if I want to go, and there's part of this, Mike, you say you want to win a Super Bowl, you say you want to play in a great offense with a great quarterback. Listen, this is not about money. This is put up or shut up. Do you really want to have a great chance to do all those things and be with this great offense, great quarterback, coach, all this stuff? If you do, sign here. If you want to make $10 more, then go sign somewhere else. But I think the Rams were very comfortable that they were in this all along.
And I'm glad you mentioned the Matthew Stafford angle in all this, because a Titans fan would say right now, if he has time to throw to the open guy, if he doesn't have Jeffrey Simmons all over him, if he isn't being spun around and throwing the ball to a defensive player. And, that's a nice little bright, shiny object for the Rams fans as we process what happened on Sunday night. And I'm sure the Rams think it was an aberration and they'll come up with a way to fix it, but they better, because it's going to be impossible for Matthew Stafford to get the ball to any of his receivers if he's getting harassed the way he did on Sunday night, and it's going to be more reason for defenses to try to get after him, because the better the receivers, the more urgency there is to get to the quarterback before he can throw it to one of them.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.